But what I'm talking about is how you need to slow your roll in terms of making your first interaction a request because it's never going to work. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the podcast. I say that every time, don't I? Like, what else would I say? What else would I say instead of that, though? It feels right. Like, welcome back. Welcome back. I'm glad you're here. Podcast listeners, did you notice statistically speaking, podcast listeners normally have a higher level of education than non-podcast listeners? Podcast listeners also normally make more money than non-podcast listeners. Did you also know if you're an entrepreneur in the online space and you have a um, accent, that data, according to Jennifer, it's my data. I haven't actually proved this, but maybe it is provable that you actually make more money in the online space too if you have an accent, which I do not. So there's all that. Just some random facts for you today. So what I actually want to talk about in this podcast though is not random. It's some things that just they really annoy me, friends. I've got some things that kind of burn my butter that I want to chat with you about, like three things in particular, situations where entrepreneurs, like people like you and I, probably well-meaning, we just literally need to slow our roll because you're asking for a sale way too soon. You're asking for a call to action way too soon. You're going in like a stage 5 clinger with a potential client, and you just need to chill. You just need to back off just a little bit. And as someone who's built, what I consider to be a really great, thriving online business with nearing 7 million downloads of the Jennifer Allwood Show podcast, I get hit up in my DMs and things quite frequently. And there are good ways of making an ask, and they're just really bad ways. But even a lot of beginning entrepreneurs have, and if you're not, soliciting people to be on their podcast. There's a couple of things. I was thinking this morning, okay, I've got three things that I see with entrepreneurs that we could just do better in terms of just kind of chilling, okay? Just giving time. I was telling somebody the other day. That's one of my favorite sayings. Give time. I love that. But just needing to slow our roll in a couple of areas. Okay. So I want you to examine your business for these three things. Make sure you are not doing these or that you're doing things correctly. Okay. Number one, if you have a website, every one of you needs to have a website. If you don't have a website, you need to be using Equip 360. You can go to equip360.com, buy an account. That's my software, and make a website there. Okay. But every entrepreneur should have a website. But the mistake that I make is so often I will hit a brand new website for someone that I've never been to before, and their pop-up pops up way too early. You know, that thing, that like square in the middle of the box where it's like, hey, want to save 10%, want to get free shipping, want to have my free report sent to you. That's a pop-up, okay? You guys, it can't be hitting the second somebody hits your website. Now, if you're like, Jen, I'm pretty sure I have a pop-up set up, but I don't even know how quickly it, fires, then get on somebody else's phone in your house or something, somebody that, is a step away from your business, because often we're too close to it and things are in cookies and caches and whatever else. But go to your website and see what happens and see how quickly that thing pops up. Because I guarantee you, if it's popping up at a minimum, it has to be at a bare minimum, you guys. You got to give it 30 seconds on your site before that thing pops up. I really prefer 45 seconds to a minute, if I'm being really honest. But if it's popping up within the first 5, 10, 15 seconds, someone's on your site, 100% of the time, they are clicking the X and they are not giving you their name and email. They're not. They're not doing it, because here's essentially what this is equivalent to. Okay. And I've heard this, explained by other people, and this is the best way to put it. Whenever someone is hitting your website for the first time, consider that like a first date. Okay. Maybe it's been a setup. They've gotten to your site because they've been set up on a blind date. Their sister-in-law told them to go visit your site or whatever. They saw a Facebook ad, what have you. They land on your site. This is a first date. This is where your site is supposed to make a really good first impression. This is where, you figure out, is this a gentleman? Does he treat me with care? Does he open the car door? I'm thinking about all the things. I'm mentally going through the checklist for Ava Grace Allwood, who is 17, and has been on some dates, but like, that's what a good first date looks like. Are they respectful? Yada, yada. But what happens is, if someone hitting your website for the first time is the first date, and if your pop-up is coming up saying, hey, do you want this freebie? Hey, do you want a coupon? Hey, do you want whatever? You're asking for the second date before the first date has even really begun. It's like the dude is standing on our front porch going, Ava, do you want to go out again next week? And she's like, I don't stinking know. Like, you just got here. I don't know if you're a creep. I don't know how you're about to treat me. I don't know if there's anything about you that I even want to see again. Like, that's what happens when someone hits your website and too fast, your pop-up is coming. Give time. Give them a little bit of time. Just look around your site first, okay? So that's number one. Slow your roll by slowing down how quickly that pop-up pops up, okay? Number two, are you asking for a really hard sell as soon as someone basically signs up to get on your email list, okay? So as entrepreneurs, we all know that your email list is supposed to be the place where you are making 75% of your sales, where you are really pressing harder than what you are on social media to get people to sign up for your course, your group, your consulting, your package deal, your book sales, your product sales, whatever, right? So if you're getting people onto your email list, because maybe you were in my training last week, maybe you took my challenge and you're like, okay, I've got to be working on the email list. Great, good job. But then if you get someone on your list and then the first email you send them right after that is, hey, I know that you just signed up for my free, report on how to get your babies to sleep all through the night. I have a course on, sleeping through the night 101. Go sign up here. Like, that is too quick. It is too fast. It's too aggressive because as soon as someone's on your email list, your next step is not sell. Your next step is nurture. Okay. If they've landed on your website at some time, first date, if they have opted in to your list, second date, and then you're going, here's a sale. Nope, you're asking for the whole enchilada, or I don't know what to call it because now it's all of a sudden awkward since I'm using like first base and second base and third base, and this is a PG podcast. But like, you're asking them for the sale, which we're just gonna say is like, going the whole shebang. Like, that's just way too soon. You've got to love. You've got to nurture that relationship. And if you're like, Jen, I don't even know what you're talking about, challenge last week, email list, all those things. We just teach a totally different way in my list magnet program of nurturing people. I don't want them to get on your list and then you immediately ask them for a sale. I want them to get on your list. I want you to have at least one nurturing email, two nurturing email, possibly even a three, and then you can ask for a sale. Okay. And if you're like, I need that type of training, you can still go to listmagnet.io, not .com, listmagnet.io/self-guided. Okay. Listmagnet.io/self-guided. We will teach you there. So slow your roll and how quickly you're asking a brand new email subscriber to buy from you. Okay. You're asking too fast and you're losing potential sales. Like, don't I know sometimes it's so tempting to ask for a sale today, but I do believe that you kind of burn some bridges when you do that, when you ask too soon. People get kind of grodied out. I mean, think of it again as in like dating. When things are initiated too quickly, or asked for too quickly, you're like, dude, relax yourself. Again, trying to use some language in some situations that you might be able to like draw back on because you either dated once in your lifetime or you have kids that are dating, etc. So third way that we need to slow our roll as entrepreneurs is this: pitching people for anything when we have never interacted with them before. All right. So listen, I get a lot of pitches, especially on my Instagram DMs, from people who are wanting me to, can you share this new program that I'm releasing? Can you share this list that my kiddo's teacher, it's her wish list for the school year this year? Can you share this missing person thing? Like, these are all great, right? I even have a lot of people who say, hey, I know that you're a woman of God. Will you pray for me in my DMs? And I can look back on any one of those situations, and the majority of the time, they've never interacted with me before. And listen, before you go thinking that I'm a jerk because I brought up, people asking me to pray and me saying, you know what, you got to establish some relationships first. Is it okay just to also say this? Okay, Jen, use wisdom here. Holy Spirit, help me get some good words so that I don't offend people. But asking a stranger on the internet who you have no real relationship with, who you've had no real conversation with, who you've never met, but you know that she is someone who likes to pray, asking her to pray for your situation, it just kind of comes off as bizarre. Because the people that will actually pray like what you really genuinely want are the people who are in your world, friends. They're the people you go to church with. They're the people that live next door to you. And I don't have some like special, segue to Jesus that you don't. And so while it's precious, and I try to take a moment when people send me, I just had this happen or this happened. Can you pray for me? And I'll pause and I'll give that some thought. I'll present it to the Lord. But the truth is, they're just better people to be asking to cover you in prayer. Okay. And so asking whether, so aside from that, okay, that was just a side note. That was just a side note that you're not getting charged for here on this podcast. But if you're asking me to have you on my podcast, have we ever talked before? No, it hasn't. 100% of the time, the answer is not even a chance, Sheila or whoever. If you're in Jason's DMs for Fairway Finest, that's his golf apparel business, and your first interaction ever with him is, will you donate some of your Fairway Finest golf polos to our fundraiser? Like 100% of the time, the answer to that is no. Because the truth is, entrepreneurs a lot of times are being asked for donations, asked for an opportunity, asked for a job, asked for you to present something, asked for you to share something. And it doesn't matter if you have an audience my size or, much, much smaller. Every one of you business owners who's listening to me today, you have been pitched for something. And you know how it feels when you've had zero interaction, which is 98% of those DMs, with the person that's asking you for something. It feels yucky, right? It feels like they're just using you for your platform. So listen, if you have been under the coaching of somebody who has coached you how to do that, like literally fire that person as your coach right now. It works 0% of the time. 100% of the emails I get from, Susan, who wants to know if, Marky Mark could be on my podcast. Not really Marky Mark, because if it was Marky Mark Wahlberg, that'd be something different. But because I liked the episode you just recently did interviewing Anthony O'Neill about the topic of like, I have been around the block long enough to know this is a canned email you send out to 1,000 people who have a podcast. You have a system that pulls in one of my most recent episode names. You maybe manually fill in a couple of blanks, but you're not doing nearly enough work to get a yes from me. Okay. And every one of you entrepreneurs, I know you see things in your DMs and sometimes you're like, should I engage with this? Should I not? If they've never corresponded with you before, the answer needs to be no. You are fully able, you have my permission to not even respond. You don't have to give any response when people ask you for a donation. You don't have to give a response when people ask if you can highlight them, if you'll promote their products, if you will do whatever. You don't even have to respond. But I would tell you this, if you're the person that is pitching others, like be smarter than that. Do better, because it's gross when you're on this end. And now the opposite of that is when I have people roll into my DMs who I can look back, or I can see that they've emailed me before, or I know that we've had many conversations in the DMs, when they've shared some of my content, when I see them like commenting on social media posts, and then I get to ask, that feels totally different. That feels totally different. But what I'm talking about is how you need to slow your roll in terms of making your first interaction a request, because it's never going to work. 100% of the time, you're not hearing back from those people. You're not getting out of that interaction what it is that you're hoping. So slow your roll. Take time to actually try to build some rapport with someone, to actually have a DM conversation before you go asking for them to do a favor for you. It's just, it's having like emotional intelligence. It's just basic communication 101. Nobody wants to feel used. Nobody wants to feel like the only reason you're here is for an ask. And I think we just need to sometimes get back to the basics in business. Slow down. Take some time to try to like nurture some relationships with your email list. Like, don't be asking them for a sale right off the bat. Don't be asking them to sign up for your list the second they hit your website. Don't be asking other entrepreneurs to do something for you when you've never done anything for them. That's not how life works. And not that it has to be, an equal or a give, but your chances of somebody giving you a yes go up exponentially if you've taken any amount of time to just develop a relationship with them. Now, with that being said, bots are getting smarter. They are they're getting better at coming into my DMs and pretending to be an actual person and engaging with me. I don't respond. Engaging with me. I don't respond. Engaging with me. I don't respond. And then they make the ask. The answer is still no. And so just be wise. Okay. And give time. and be the type of entrepreneur that is willing to put off immediate gratification of a potential sign up or a potential sale or a potential yes by putting it off just a little bit while you love on people on the interim. Okay. I promise you that will pay off even better. And emotional maturity, in my opinion, is putting off till today what you could ask for today, but knowing that it'll be better if you just wait a hot minute. So slow your roll. If you still need help on email list, all things about building email list, opt-in, email list building, go to listmagnet.io/self-guided. I mentioned that earlier in the podcast. And thanks for being here, friends. I hope this was beneficial today. I hope you'll either go over to the podcast and leave us a review, or you'll go over to YouTube and watch the video of this so you can see just exactly how badly I need to have my roots done. I got a hair appointment today. Or you'll share this with one or two friends, because that's how my podcast gets in front of new people without me having to run ads. And I appreciate it so much. You guys are the best. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye. Easton, when I have my hair up like this, you should put a picture of yourself on the screen. How much do we look alike when I have my hair like this? Because it's up on my head and you've got big hair too.